Hi, I am the Lady Miss Vagina Jenkins, and it is time for Queer Astrology. Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is the third video in a series of videos that I'm doing to celebrate Hoodoo Heritage Month. October is a perfect time to honor the hoodoos, the root workers, the conjurers in your life, in your family, or to just do a little bit more research about the African American practice of hoodoo and ATR's, African traditional religions in general. In the last two videos, we talked about the astrology of Nat Turner's rebellion, the new moon solar eclipse that influenced him to begin planning the rebellion, as well as his personal chart and the chart of Nat Turner's rebellion from August of 1831. And in the video before that, I talked about my personal experience of hoodoo, what it means to me, and how it shows up in my astrological natal chart. And in this video, I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty, how we can infuse our workings with astrological knowledge. So let's talk about it. So I would break down working with astrology into like two sort of different aspects: the timing of it all and the astrological associations. So RE, the timing. I think it's really important to be thinking about the timing of your workings. Like, yes, everything happens in divine time, but if you get to choose when to begin an endeavor, what cycle you would like an endeavor to go with, to flow with, it might be useful to start thinking about the astrology. And by that, I mean the ways in which we have kept time according to the stars, right? We can mark an entire year based on the sun sign going through 12 zodiac signs, right? And then what are all the ways we can break down that year into smaller astrological subsets? The biggest, I guess, yes, is the year, but then we can break down the year into 4 seasons. And what does it mean to be doing workings during these seasons? What does it mean to be doing something at springtime when the sap is starting to rise, when the birds and bees are chirping and buzzing and doing their thing, when the grasses are blooming up and when the daffodils are starting up? Like, what does it mean to begin an endeavor during this beginning season? Depending on where you live in the world though, right? And with the other seasons, what does it mean to do some working during the summer months when the sun is out and everything is warm and almost at its height? What does it mean to be doing workings during the fall season? Maybe this is for workings that are about winnowing away, about harvesting or releasing. And then what does it mean to be doing workings during winter time when there is very little light, when things seem almost so still that they might be even frozen? All of those seasons have a different energy and vibe to them that you could work into your root workings or conjurings if you chose to. And then we could break down the seasons into months. And I think, yeah, the Gregorian calendar is useful. It takes us from January 1 to January 31st. But wouldn't it be interesting to think about months as where the sun is astrologically? Instead of January going from 1 to 31st, what if it went from December 20th to January 20th, and that was Capricorn season, and we would know that that had a certain meaning to it because it's the stillest, most quietest time of the year, you know? And then towards the middle of the year, it's really interesting that the fall equinox, I believe it is, sets off Libra season. Yeah, all of the cardinals signs start off a season, and Libra, I'm pretty sure starts with the autumnal equinox. And so what is it to do a working during that day set of time of Libra season when things are balanced? Or what does it mean to just do a working that is on one day, the fall equinox or the December solstice or the June solstice, you know? What does it mean to look at days in terms of, this is when the light and the dark are balanced, fall equinox, spring equinox. This is when we have so much more day than we have nighttime, looking at like the June solstice, and the opposite being true at the December solstice. We have so much more darkness to work with, and what could that infuse into any sort of rituals or workings? So we are talking about the full zodiacal wheel of 1 year, 360 degrees. You could break down that 360 degrees into 4 seasons, and they would be 90 degrees each. Or you could break it down into 12 months, and that would be 30 degrees for each month. And then you could also break down the months into decans. The first 10 degrees, the second 10 degrees, the third 10 degrees. So from 0 to 9, from 10 to 19, and then from 20 to 29. How does the energy of any given sign change as it develops from 0 degrees to 29 degrees of the sign? So we've broken down this 360 degree circle into 4 seasons. We've broken it down into 12 months. 12 months. We've broken down those months into little 10 degree subsets called decans. And you can also break down these months, these new zodiacal months, by day. Each day has a planetary association with it. Quite literally, Monday is the day of the moon. Tuesday is associated with Mars. Wednesday is associated with Mercury. Thursday is associated with Jupiter. Friday is associated with Venus. Saturday is associated with Saturn. And Sunday is associated with the Sun. So that's that 360 wheel of the year broken down into these individual days. And then we can even divide further to planetary hours. So the first hour of sunrise of any given day is named after its day ruler. So for example, Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning when the sun rises, that first hour will be a moon related hour. And then it follows a cycle. So putting all that information together, how powerful would it be, for example, if you were doing work around your career and your career house, your 10th house was in Leo. So maybe you were trying to get some sun related significance to your working. So perhaps you could do it on a Sunday. Perhaps you could even do that ritual during a sun hour on a Sunday. You could do it during the season, or excuse me, the month associated with the sun. So during Leo season. And then you could also do it during a day. I mean, depending on what you're trying to accomplish with your workings, perhaps it's wanting a lot more attention for your work. So perhaps you would want to do this during Leo season, or maybe you would want to do it during spring so you can begin a new cycle of being seen and affirmed for your work. So those are some of the astrological timing techniques that you could use as it relates to your workings. And then I also want to offer up some really specific herbal associations with astrology. I looked up some of the most commonly used herbs, flowers, roots, sticks, that kind of thing that I use in my practice. And I classified them by their planetary association according to this book, Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, and I'll make sure to put this in the description box below. I think I know that I got this book from a used bookstore, so I wouldn't even have a recommendation about where to buy it. But yeah, I think it's really popular, or pretty popular anyway. It's one of those Llewellyn's books, so that's why I think it's more popular. So here's my list of herbs that I looked up for their planetary association. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of herbs, plants, etc. This is just what I most commonly use. Your mileage may vary. So the sun as a planet, I often think about it conferring vitality, a winning attitude, shining light, maybe letting things be more visible because of that shining light. And yeah, herbs, plants that are associated with the sun, bay leaf, cedar, cinnamon, and oranges. For the moon, the same thing, kind of similar to the sun in that we can shine light on things, but sometimes these things are a little bit more hidden. This is the sun of the nighttime, if that makes any sense. So maybe shining light on things that people are keeping more secretive, or maybe even understanding someone's emotional state more than like what their physicality or their body is doing. Yes, those are some ways that folks work with the moon. And associations, herbal associations, cotton, willow, gardenia, and jasmine. Venus. When I think about Venus, I think about how we are attracting things to us. Literally being attractive. Yes, to romantic partners or being, cute in the face, beautiful or whatever, but also like our manifestation work. That's what I'm primarily associating Venus with. And so herbal correspondences or vegetable correspondences, corn, apple, rose, and elderberry. Mars is what I think of when I think about workings that are meant to bring forth some sort of justice or retribution. Mars can be associated with like aggression and violence, but I often think of it as like giving us the strength to stand on our 2 feet and like advocate for ourselves. And so herbs associated with it: garlic, poke root, pine, tobacco. Jupiter is the next planet that I've got. Jupiter I associate with like abundance. Yes, abundance of money, but honestly its ability to expand anything. Yeah. So Jupiter, I've got sage, clove, dandelion, and fig. The next planet, we've got Saturn, which I think of as a planet of hard work and success over time. I often think of it associated with hierarchy, governmental structures, big bodies like that. And so it makes sense that it is associated with John the Conqueror root, datura, and horsetail. Uranus, I think of as a planet that helps us find where we are different and understand what a strength, that difference, that uniqueness, that being an innovator, that being an icon, that strength that we can find in being on the outside looking in, if that makes any sense. And so herbal correspondences with Uranus, green coffee, star anise, I think you say anise, cedar, and tonka bean. I noticed that cedar is associated with Sun and Uranus. So that's an interesting thing. Neptune, I think of as definitely more of the dream space. What can we dream of, literally imagine, but also what do we do like when we're sleeping, like those kinds of dreams as well. But also illusions. What needs clarity, not like the sun, like we're going to shine our light on this until we get to the clarity, but more like there are hazy layers that need to be sort of wiped away. How can we gently go at wiping this haze away? Or embracing it and being in our delusional girl era. You choose your own adventure. Herbs associated with Neptune: cannabis, mugwort, valerian, and Pluto. Pluto is the last and final one. Pluto I associate with deep soul transformation kind of work, shadow work for sure. Yeah, it's usually some version of unearthing the darkness, and so these herbs make a lot of sense. Blue and black cohosh, nettle root, black walnut. And yeah, if you didn't have access to this book or the interwebs, but you were trying to come up with your own astrological correspondences, I'll offer up like some gentle guidelines. A lot of the sun related stuff is also very bright in its smell, like oranges. Citrus is usually really related to sun. Bay leaf is very aromatic. Cinnamon is aromatic. Cedar is really aromatic. Yeah, sun, I usually think of really bright, intense smells. Plants associated with the moon quite often will have white color or a white billowy appearance. So like, yes, to cotton. Baby's breath I think is associated with the moon. White aromatic flowers like gardenia and jasmine are listed here. I think datura is even sometimes known as the moon flower. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I think it is. Mercury I associate it with plants that grow quickly and are often a ground cover. Mercury being the planet of messages and the messenger. I'm thinking about ground covers and the way that they are working with like mycelial networks to exchange information. Yeah, that's what makes me think of Mercury and ground covers like mint, like clover. Lavender is listed here as well. And when I think about Venus, I think about something that either we can eat quite easily, it's like a comfort food, and I'm associating it with Taurus in that way, or I'm thinking of beautiful flowers. So Venus and rose definitely makes sense. Venus and corn. What else was listed? Apple. Oh, elderberry. And also like a nice pink or red color I would associate with Venus as well. That reminds me that sometimes you only have like flowers or roses available to you. And if you only had roses, then I would go with the white rose for moon, or the yellow orange rose to talk about the sun, or a true red rose to talk about Venus. When I think about Mars sorts of plants, I think about plants that have their own weapons, like thorns and stickers, things like that. Or things that have a pungent smell. They have tobacco associated with Mars, garlic, poke root, which I don't think, no, it doesn't have weapons, but it does have a really intense red berry that looks like blood on your hands when you touch it. Yeah. And pine has its own weapon to it. It's kind of pokey. When I think about Jupiterian plants, I think that about a plant that grows either really expansively, like some of those ground covers we named, or that has an expansive propagation habit. There's a succulent called the Mother of Many that very much makes me think of Jupiter. Lots of leaves or lots of little flowers. Oh, I might actually put baby's breath in Jupiter as well, because it's white, but it has that same Jupiterian, so many flowers are blooming all at once. Yeah, that kind of vibe. Oh, dandelion and its many seed pods floating all over the place. Figs and how bounteous fig harvests come in. Yeah, bounty, a lot of it. When I think about Saturnian plants, I think about plants with a very clear structure. Like horsetail actually has silica in it to give it its like structure. I didn't even have to, I assumed this whole time that John the Conqueror root was associated with Saturn. And so I was really surprised and grateful. It definitely affirmed my inner knowledge to see that so many folks had associated it with Saturn as well, because I think it has a domination kind of energy to it. Neptune, I think of a lot of the mugwort is perfect. I was thinking about the dream aspect and how so many of those Artemisian plants are about dreams in some way, shape, or form. And so yeah, mugwort, perfect fit. Cannabis, perfect fit. Yeah. Uranus and Pluto, I can't say that I had ever, before this moment, tried to associate any plants with them. But yeah, I would think a Uranian plant would be a plant that's doing things differently, like maybe ferns and their little spores, but they have big leaves, that kind of thing. They're doing mushroom things, but as a plant. Yeah, that feels like a Uranian example. And then Pluto, a plant that is dedicated to some sort of like gut clearing, makes a lot of sense. So the cohoshes that are here, the black walnut, yeah, they are definitely about like turning up some things and violently cleansing out those systems and transforming for the better. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me as well. Yeah, so yeah, those are just some brief little things that I was thinking about timing and about herbal associations between astrology and plants. So yeah, that's what I have for this week's Hoodoo Heritage Time for Queer Astrology. Thank you so much for paying attention. Thank you for listening to me talk. And yeah, do you have any herbs that you work with? And what planets are they associated with? Tell me the tea. Ooh, yeah. What's the astrological significance of tea? Ooh. I'll bet it's Capricorn in nature. Anywho, thank you for making time for queer astrology. Bye.